I didn't really think to come out of university and start going into any sort of media or editorial position. I actually graduated with an economics degree, and then, to be honest, I didn't really think it would be all that useful. So straight out of university, I really had no direction. So I actually ended up in Hong Kong playing professional soccer, and I was going to do that for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then kind of resume a real life job. Go back to Canada, maybe slave away at a bank. But luckily, I at the time, given the landscape with blogging, it's not something that you necessarily need to be professional at. I did have interest in writing, but it was never something I thought I could take to the next level. But luckily, I was able to combine a passion with sneakers and fashion and then turn it into a position as an editor. Over the last few years, we've grown from, as I mentioned, a focus on streetwear and sneakers, and I think that right now it's much more than that. It's essentially what I like to think as a lifestyle concept. It's not just fashion. It goes into, gadgets, automotive, music, art, architecture. There's a lot of different things that kind of is reflective of what we like and what we enjoy. I think for a great Hypebeast article, I think first and foremost, if I'm going to talk about the blog aspect, it really comes down to imagery. I think the way that our blog is set up and the context of it, most people don't really go into a blog looking to read something very long and in-depth. It's just not framed that way. However, they want to see, what's good imagery, something that kind of either pushes the boundaries of creativity, is something they've never seen before, hopefully, and something that kind of the catalyst for something else. I mean, it could be music that, is innovative. It could be fashion, like the way someone approaches cuts, there's quite a few different things that depend sort of on what product we're talking about. I like to think is our unique factor is that we try to kind of really provide a truly curated experience. Like, I would like to think that when I approach content, I kind of go through like a mental checklist. How do I feel this would reflect Hypebeast? Do I think that this adds any value to the site? Do I think that this is something that truly represents innovation or creativity? It's not someone rehashing a concept that has been done in the past and not even improving on it. It really has to bring something new to the table. I think for a good brand, a lot of it comes down to having a full package. More often than not, it's much like an artist. They can be the most creative person, but if they can't sustain their business, that's important as well. When I look at a good brand, I look at someone that I feel brings kind of authenticity to themselves. As I see it, a good brand doesn't have to be monetarily successful in the sense that, it's blowing up and everyone's buying it. I think there's a certain intangible kind of appreciation I have if someone approaches their brand and this is a true, unadulterated vision of what they want to do. I have nothing but respect for that. You might not be rolling in the money with your brand, but if you feel, this is something that I truly appreciate and it's not necessarily something I'm creating for someone else, I think that's a good brand. I personally like to think that when I approach content or anything that I really want to know the background of it, and I think by helping to promote the background and the sort of behind the scenes aspect of a brand, not necessarily through the blog, but through a feature or like an interview, I think that helps create a more sustainable environment where people aren't just kind of fixated on the final product. You're building a meaningful relationship with the back end. And I think that'll help kind of grow brands and sort of people find interest in that. It's not just, here's something that, who, what, where, when, how, and where can I buy it? Although I'm sure that plays a certain part in the popularity of the site. I think that in the internet era, if you don't have the luxury of touching and feeling and seeing something with your eyes, not with your eyes, but you don't get to see it and touch it and see how it looks. So you really have to present it in the greatest kind of, you have to make it sort of look as good as possible. And I think that is sometimes overlooked. If I see something that isn't flattering on the internet, what's going to make me want to take that next step to either buying it online or checking it out in stores? The biggest barrier that print faces is that, you know, they really have to be careful of their curation. It's almost as though online enjoys an easier editorial job at times because you have no restrictions on physicality. You can, you know, a magazine can only have so many pages. For online, I can put up, if I feel I have 100 pieces of good, relevant, solid content that reflect where I want to put place Hypebeast, then technically I could, I guess, although I wouldn't want to put up 100 pieces of content. But aside from that, you know, speed is paramount. There's things that we can put up, you know, now that a magazine might not show for another 6 weeks. And by that time, it's kind of old news, which is, you know, it's a double-edged sword for the internet, the speed factor, because sometimes you accelerate trends. And I think just kind of touching on Hypebeast TV, for us, we have so many different more platforms. You know, we can show things in video that a print magazine can't really do. It's really static. But we'll see where kind of print magazines can reinvent themselves with new digital formats like an iPad or tablet computers. Another thing that if you're smart about it, you can kind of leverage the internet with your print magazine. Because as it stands, one thing the internet's been really good at is filling or finding somewhere for a niche to grow. And if you can create a print magazine about something very or relatively obscure anyways, and you can leverage it with the internet, I still think you can make a relatively sustainable business. And at the end of the day, as humans, we still like something tangible, something to flip through, something, you know, to pull out at any convenience and just start reading. So I think that the good thing is that much like any industry that becomes oversaturated, when you have this monumental shakeup, you're hopefully gonna have the good quality rise to the top. I think that we don't really have a strong need to focus on commercial mainstream brands. If I go back to the numbers for the month of October, we had about 19 million page views, but the most trafficked post was something regarding Banksy and The Simpsons, and that was only 27,000 hits. So it's a drop in the bucket in regards to where one particular piece of information or post will represent in the grand scheme of things. So there's not a strong focus on that. As regards to the kind of a critical voice, I feel that if I'm putting something up on Hypebeast and there's a need to be negative, then it's probably not worth putting up. You know, I think that the curation part of it comes into play. There's a resounding amount of hate that comes through the pages of Hypebeast, and there's nothing I can do about that. But I think in regards to that, I don't want to help contribute to that. I don't need to add more fuel to the fire by putting up something I personally don't like, I personally won't appreciate writing about. The purpose isn't so much to read it all, it's to kind of pick and choose where you find interest. I think that's why Hypebeast has been able to grow so much, is that I might have, let's say, 30 articles in a 24-hour span. I don't expect you to read all 30 of them. I might not expect you to read 15 of them, but I do expect you to read some of them. And I think that if you take this concept and multiply it over multiple users, that's where I think we sort of that's where we place ourselves. Hypebeast vision, I think it's simple. It's to continually provide a platform for concepts that we find innovative and creative. Things that, you know, most people might not jump onto or find interest in because maybe they don't understand it yet. But for us, that's exactly where I want to take it on a creative level, is where can I introduce the back end concept that no one thought about because all they see is the front end product. So hopefully bring to light the conceptual aspect of it all.